Welcome, everybody. It is January 25th. Welcome to the weekly Power Up. I'm very energized, excited, grateful to be here with you today. We're almost done with January. Can you believe it? For 2021, this time, I'm telling you, is moving so fast. And I just wanted to, this morning specifically talk about a subject that I had in mind. And let me just start off with the intention. The intention is to empower you to be inspired and resourceful to be the greatest benefit to everyone. Let's grow, right? I want you to be inspired and resourceful because you are at the cause of everything in your life. Everything that's going good, everything that's not going so good, then you are at the cause and obviously at the effect of it, right? But I want you to be at the cause of it, because then you can control the effects. So what subject that I conjured up this subject. So it's habits of a top performer. And I want to build upon, from last week, I talked about, the morning routine and the power of morning routine. And it really is game changer when you really create yourself a morning routine where you're feeling all of the emotions and everything you desire, before you even start your day. For example, today I started off my morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was raining, it was cold outside. I woke up, jumped out of bed. First thing I did was give thanks. I was very grateful, to wake up, to be alive. And then I came over, to my home office type gym and stuff. And, because I have both of them in here. So I got, some stretching done. I started to get the blood flowing. I started to, do some push-ups. And then from there, really started to meditate, give gratitude for everything I'm grateful for. And then I have an accountability group at 6 o'clock. So by the time I got into the accountability group at 6 o'clock, I was already energized, ready to go. And then we had an hour of that, just masterminding, collaborating, sharing best practices on Clubhouse. By 7, I'm done doing my cold shower, drinking some coffee, drinking some water. And then now I'm jumping, actually, before even this, I was in a commercial class with over 900 people in the EXP world. So I went to do that. And then I was on Clubhouse again. I tapped into a room. And now I'm here with you guys. It's 9:07 a.m. It's Monday. But look at all the stuff that I've already done this morning. And I feel accomplished. I feel fulfilled. I feel grateful. I feel inspired. I feel energized. I'm warmed up. The thing is that if you don't create that morning routine, you're not going to be warmed up and you're not going to be at your optimal performance. You're not going to be at 100%. I always have had these kind of habits, and I've had these habits, for a long time, but during life, I kind of fall off and then get back on, fall off and get back on. And with this pandemic, I started to wake up a little bit later, and I wasn't waking up as early as I was. So I just took it upon myself. I started doing this, really waking up at 5 again, for the last 2 weeks, and it's been life changing. It's like literally if I'm living in a different world, if I'm in a different life almost, because everything is different, right? Everything is different about the day because of the way that I am being in the morning. And therefore, I bring this to the conversations, to what I record, everything. So how is that going to tie into habits of a top performer? Well, the habits of a top performer are going to start off with your morning. So that's why I wanted to share again about, the morning routines. Number 2, it's going to be the habits that you're doing on a daily basis to perform at a high level. Top performers, that I've studied, many of them, they're usually at the office or at their desk or starting their days a lot earlier than most people, and they have a heavy focus on generating business, right? If we're talking about the real estate business, our top performers are the ones that are doing, the most transactions and the most closings. So if you really want to be a top performer, you want to get a lot of listings, a lot of buyers, a lot of escrows, a lot of money, you want to perform in that, you really need to control your daily habits. And I really focus in on the fundamentals. Those are the things that you have to get really excellent at, right? Because what do you have as far as, in the real estate industry, you have to be really great at having conversations. So what habits can you create for yourself where you're putting yourself on the line to improve the ability to speak and communicate, right? So I think that a habit of a top performer, number one, is, in real estate, we're looking at, we got to develop our speaking skills. There is a great, great masterminds that you can go to, like Toastmasters, where you can pay like $20 a month, and then you can go in there and then speak, and they critique you, and they polish your speaking abilities. And that has been game changer for me, like Toastmasters. So you can do that with also an accountability group. You can get together and say, hey, you know what? 5 of my friends, we're going to get together in a Zoom, and we're going to talk about, we're going to create just a topic. We're going to talk about a day at the beach, and you're a lifeguard. So have a conversation about that. So everybody has to think about something quickly to talk about, and then you're going to start to practice. And then the rest of the audience, right, the 4 other guys, you can start to critique, like, hey, you said a lot, you said this a lot, you said this a lot. So you start to write those things down, and you start to polish the way you speak. So that's one way that you can polish the way you speak, you communicate, right? And then also reading, like actually reading a book, right? I'm a huge fan of Audible and YouTube and listening to stuff, but you really want to have a book, and that way you can read it. And really, really, like, this is going to help you to expand your vocabulary. And one of the things that I learned from Les Brown, years ago, I went to one of his seminars. He said that he would read 10 minutes a day out loud, right? So I encourage you to just take a habit, even if you do it for 5 minutes, read out loud on a daily basis. It's going to help you to expand your vocabulary. But also, the most important thing, you want to like really focus on the tonality and the energy when you're reading, right? You're going to want to read louder than you usually speak, because you are practicing this instrument, which is called your voice. And your voice is going to have the ability to influence and impact your business in a big way. So you really got to understand that instrument, you need to practice it, your speaking ability and your energy, your influence. So you got to practice it, speaking out loud and recording yourself and listening to yourself. That way you can audit your own speaking, and you can really start to remove things that are just extra, right? For instance, when there is a pause, most of the time, what people do are in speaking, right? So you want to remove all of those things. So read out loud for 10 minutes, Toastmasters, those are things that I've done to elevate my performance in the real estate industry. Those are game changer. I think that a lot of people talk a lot about lead generation, which is something I'm going to talk about as well. But you really got to focus on how you're being in the lead generation, right? Whatever you are doing to generate you new business, it is best to bring your best self to the forefront of whatever you're doing. If you're picking up the phone, then your energy needs to be extra on point. Your conversations need to be colorful. You need to have an exciting tempo, not a monotone tempo, to have people, really understand, like, hey, I want to stay on the phone with this person. If you're doing a video, you also have to be convicting, and you have to deliver energy. So all of these different things are going to help you become more effective on the phones, on the video, in front of in front of an audience, in front of a client. When you're presenting your listing presentation or your buyer presentation, your ability to inspire the customer is going to directly impact your business, because you're going to gift them confidence, right? Most people don't understand the buying and selling process. So they're going to you as a professional for you to walk them through that process. So you have to really master that process, the buying and selling process, understanding the contracts, back and forth, and learning what kind of questions most customers have, and really being able to articulate those answers with confidence. Once you answer that with confidence, and you give them a presentation of what it's going to take for them to either buy or sell, at the end of the conversation, there's going to be very little questions, because you've done such an excellent job of articulating all of their concerns even before they ask. And that's another huge one, for a top performer. You want to be able to address and have the structure and the process for a customer, for them to be able to walk into it freely, right? Not for you to have a customer and you try to figure out the process, right? That's not going to be the way to go. So you have to practice the fundamentals every single day. Practice role playing. Get a role play partner where you can call each other in the morning and practice having conversations. Hey, today we're going to practice, calling an expired, calling a for sale by owner, calling a neighborhood, calling a past client, calling, somebody that I got online, whatever the case is. Practice those things. Practice your buyer presentation, your listing presentation, your all of those different things, how to explain the contract. Practice on each other, get feedback, but you want to role play all those things, because again, when you are in the court and when you're in front of that customer, your ability to convey the information the best possible is going to have you, really be chosen as a realtor, right? And then the other thing, you got to also, and you want to be a top performer in real estate, you got to listen. You got to really listen to your audience, really listen to the people. You really listen to your customer, to your buyer, to your seller. What are they really saying? Not only with their voice and their words, but what are they saying with their energy? What are they saying with their body language? Pay attention to all of those things, because they're giving you all of the information that you need to be able to give them a solution to what their concerns are. So you have to be able to listen for what it is that they really, really, really need, right? And a lot of the times, I think too many people are also too worried about what they're going to say, which is why you got to practice the fundamentals, because the more you know the fundamentals, the more confidence you're going to have in yourself, and the more present you can be with your customer, because you are not worried about what you're going to say or worried about having the right answer. You are just going to be fully there with your customer in conversation, doing the transaction and getting paid. At the end of the day, you are doing this business because I'm sure that you want to expand your finances. I'm pretty sure you want to build wealth of some sort, right? So by being the most resourceful real estate agent to our customers, and the most educated and the most, emotionally intelligent, we could impact and have everything we desire. The cars, the homes, the wealth, the money, everything you want is going to come, but you got to focus on those daily fundamentals and really practice those things. And again, the confidence is going to come from you knowing what to say. Then when you're in conversation, you're going to be able to listen, and give them feedback and let them know, hey, you know what? I heard what you're saying. I know you're concerned about the contract. You're concerned about the closing costs, and you want me to clarify, some of the inspection periods. And I understand that you want to sell and buy at the same time. So I know that that's a scary process, because the last thing you want to do is be homeless, right? So I'm going to walk you through and answer your question. So number one, you said, boom, 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 boom. That's the kind of service you need to give to your customers. If you're not doing that, guess what? I'm doing that with my customers. So if anybody calls me, that's the kind of service that they will get. You have to create an experience that is so different and so compelling, and for them to get that you care, that they won't forget you. You got to deposit into the relationship of that customer. You got to deposit. You got to make deposits in the relationship partner, in the relationship, in order for you to get your equity out of it, in order for you to get, your return. You need to make deposits. You need to make deposits. You got the business because you've made enough deposits. If you're getting returns, that's because you've made a lot of deposits. So you got to make deposits every single day. The other habit of top performance, in my opinion, is also acting on your ideas. You got to act on your ideas. Have you ever had an idea of like, that would be a cool ad? Oh, that would be a good thing I got to share. Oh, I should call this person. Oh man, this is something that could really change my business around. But guess what? You're out there walking around, you might be doing something, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna work on that later. You're in state in that moment. So stop what you're doing. And if you can't do it on the spot, make sure you write it down. Write those ideas down. The number one thing I do is I take action on them immediately. I learn about something. I'm like, man, that's good. And I'm within seconds, that information is out to the marketplace. Immediately,
I don't worry about how it's going to look, how, how it's going to be portrayed or not, like all the doubt that comes in after, because what happens is that if you get a good idea and you don't act upon it, you talk yourself out of it. Oh, how am I going to sound? What if somebody says this? What if somebody says that? All this crap that comes into the mind. So that's why you got to act so fast that your mind can't even come in and talk you out of it, right? So that's why rule number one, make those ideas and put them into the marketplace immediately. Take action immediately. The second best thing is to write it down and put it on your calendar that I'm going to work on this at that time. The reason I'm not a huge fan of even writing it down is because you're not going to be in the same state. When you are inspired with a new idea, when something comes up in you and you are like, that's great, you have a state of mind right then and there, and you have the fuel and the energy to push out that idea. But what happens if you write it down and you don't do it? That idea and that energy will dissipate. And then when you're going to step into it, let's say you made your time commitment at 3 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and do this idea. You might have gone through a couple bad calls. Something else could have happened. You got distracted, and all of a sudden you're at 3 o'clock. I'm like, I'm not even inspired to do this anymore. I don't even think I want to do this anymore. Like, oh, I already saw somebody else do it and it looks like this, and then they did it and they got that kind of reaction. I don't know if I should even do this. I don't even have all the right tools. Maybe I should sign up for a program. Oh, maybe I should call somebody else. Maybe I should wait. Like all of this stuff. Right? So if you want to be a low performer, take action late. If you want to be a top performer, take action on the spot. Speed of implementation is everything, my friends. So what did we just go over? Morning routines, speed of implementation, practice your speaking, right? By practicing on a daily basis, and learn your product. Whatever it is that you're selling, learn it, become a master, become a student, and listen, right? You got to be listening for the clues and the golden nuggets every single day. And a top performer also has a mindset of feedback. You are open to feedback. You're open to be coached, and you're open to others pouring into you. You're open to receiving, because as a top performer, the more you elevate, the harder it is for you to get feedback, because people are like, man, no, this person is so successful. I'm not going to talk to this person and give them any feedback because this person is going to think this of me. Well, you got to request and make it a culture that you are open to feedback to your friends. Tell them like, hey, can you please, if you ever see me not performing at my best, if you ever see me that, I'm saying something that is not in alignment with what I stand for, can you please call me out? Can you please give me feedback? Can you please, give me those clues, because I don't know that I'm doing that. And I am committed to making myself better every single day, which leads me to my next point. You got to be emotionally intelligent. If you're not emotionally intelligent, then that means that when somebody says something like that and gives you some feedback, then all of a sudden you're reactive. And then the little part of your brain that is all about survival says, I'm being attacked. I'm not being accepted. I'm being judged. And all of a sudden you close out that feedback, and then forever you have a wall up around feedback. And guess what? Now you're stagnant and you can't grow. So you got to put your emotions to the side, put them on the passenger seat, get yourself back in the driver's seat and say, I am committed to making my life better every single day. Can you please call me out? And I'm telling you this, if you're listening to this video and you got some feedback for me, I am openly requesting that you send me feedback. I want to know what I can do better to improve my life. If you think I could do something different, if you have some sort of constructive feedback that you think could make an impact to what I am doing, I am open to it. So I'm always looking to holding myself accountable to the highest standard of myself. So that's what I got to say about that, guys. You got to have those kind of habits, that kind of attitude. And if you want to develop your emotional intelligence, there's a great book by David Hawkins called Letting Go. I would start with that. I have hundreds of books that I could recommend you, but I would start with Letting Go with David Hawkins. If you've already read that one, send me a message and I'll send you the next one. But you got to start with that. But I want you to become a student of that book. Don't just read it and say, oh, I read a book. It only took me a week to read it. Well, what did you get? Oh, it was really good stuff. Some of the stuff I've heard already, blah, blah, blah. You missed it. You did not hear it. You did not listen to it. You got to take your time with books and implement. I would rather you read one book and implement everything in that book than you read 100 books in a year. It's so crazy to me when I see people all the time. They're like, I read 100 books and your life is not changing whatsoever. Stop reading all those 100 books. Listen to one and implement. Letting go is that kind of book. You got to slow it down and implement. Slow it down, implement. Slow it down, implement. It will evolve you emotionally, which will therefore elevate your performance. Because everything I talked about, you have to be emotionally intelligent to be able to receive all of the gifts and for you to be a top performer. Because if you're constantly reacting to emotions, things are coming at you. Let me tell you this industry is all about change. It's all about change. It's all about, interest rates, market going down, market going up, foreclosures, escrows, appraisers. How many things could go wrong in every single transaction? And then you're dealing with the emotions of a buyer, and you're dealing with the emotions of a seller, and then you're dealing with the emotions of the other agent. Guess what? If you're not emotionally intelligent and you can't handle all of these conversations and demands throughout one transaction, how do you see yourself going to 40, 80, 100, 200, 300, 500, 1,000 units? You got to be emotionally intelligent. You can't be reacting on everything that is said, because if you do, you're going to hate this business. But I will tell you, you're responsible for that, because your responsibility, your fiduciary agreement to your customers is that you're going to do the best for them. So they expect you to perform at a high level. So be a professional, invest in yourself, elevate your game, and be the professional that you wish to see in the industry, right? Lead by example. Become an embodiment of what you want to see. All right. So thank you for listening. Create an amazing week.